Hello and welcome to today's session on Neoplasia. In today's session, we will discuss part 2 of Neoplasia, which is biological characteristics of tumors. Now, this is a continuation from where we left off in the previous session, where we spoke about difference between benign and malignant tumors. So here I am, Sri Kumar, Professor of Pathology and Director of Research and Postgraduate Studies from Masa University, Malaysia. So we already know what benign and malignant tumors are. Now we need to know the difference between benign and malignant when it comes to certain characteristic features, depending on how they grow, how they push out into the neighboring areas, and whether they travel to other parts in the body and sit in other parts in the body and start growing there. So the biological characteristics of neoplasms is based on the following few features that we're going to see today, which is differentiation and anaplasia. You already heard of differentiation before. Differentiation is the extent to which the tissue resembles the normal tissue, the rate of growth, whether it grows slowly or at a rapid speed, whether it invades into the neighboring areas locally, or does it go to different places and sits in other parts of the body, which we call as metastasis. So based on this, we will move on with the session. Now, starting with differentiation and anaplasia. Normally, all tissues are composed of mature cells. So that is why as we grow, the body grows composed of organs and tissues which mature cells. But when a tumor develops, if it is a benign tumor or in the early stages of a malignant tumor, the cells resemble the normal mature tissue and there is no nuclear abnormality. We call these as well-differentiated tumors or low-grade tumors. But if there is a certain amount of difference between the tumor tissue and the normal tissue, they are called as moderately differentiated tumors or an intermediate grade. And the tumors where the tissue is so abnormal and irregular that it does not resemble a normal tissue, it is called poorly differentiated. This is also called as a high-grade tumor and has a very poor prognosis. The last stage in differentiation is anaplasia, where you cannot identify the tissue from the tumor at all. You cannot identify the tumor from the parent tissue. It may be a breast cancer, but it is so abnormally irregular that you cannot even identify that this is breast tissue. It looks just like a highly undifferentiated tumor. These are 4 pictures that are in sequential order from well differentiated to moderately differentiated to poorly differentiated and anaplasia. Now, in a well differentiated tumor, this is a bladder cancer. You can see that the transitional cells have proliferated to form multiple layers, and there is a certain amount of atypia. The nuclei are slightly larger, very slightly, but most of it resembles normal tissue. Moderately differentiated, where the nuclei are slightly increasing in size and shape, much more prominent nucleoli, and some mitotic cells here, here, and here. Poorly differentiated, when all the cells are varying sizes and shapes. We have mitosis here, 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 and there is crowding of cells. And compare this to this, all these cells look much more irregular. And anaplasia, when it is even beyond poorly differentiated, when the cells show lots of mitosis, irregularity in size and shape, variation in size and shape of the cell, which we call as pleomorphism, and darkened irregular nuclei, which is called hyperchromasia. So the last stage of a poorly differentiated tumor is anaplasia, where there is no differentiation. So we call this lack of differentiation. And this is a hallmark of malignancy. Anaplasia actually means forming backwards, which means it is forming itself to more immature tissue. And as we saw in the previous slide, there are so many mitoses, and a lot of them are atypical mitosis, not bipolar where a nucleus splits into 2. It could be a tripolar where a nucleus splits into 3 or 4 as well. Now, this is an example of a well-differentiated carcinoma from a thyroid, a follicular carcinoma. These are all the thyroid follicles. Some of them are small, some of them are large, and they are lined by uniform looking cells. It resembles normal tissue, so this is well differentiated. Now, compared to that is poorly differentiated tumor, where this is a large cell with an irregular nucleus. This is a cell, this is a cell, this one. All these are abnormal large atypical cells and mitosis. This is a surrounding stroma. Now, these cells don't resemble normal tissue at all. So these are poorly differentiated tumors. Now, this is what mitosis look like, and these are all atypical mitosis. This one, here a cell is dividing into two. This is metaphase, this is prophase, this is metaphase, and this is anaphase. And all these are abnormal tumor cells. So one of the features in any malignancy is a poorly differentiated tumor is the presence of atypical mitosis. This is a picture of a photomicrograph of large irregular bizarre cells. This is a sarcoma. These are all moderate size spindle cells. These are large atypical multinucleate giant cells, and these are large irregular cells. Again, another anaplasia. Notice a tripolar mitosis, another mitosis, and all these cells of varying sizes and shapes. Some are really huge and some are moderate size. There is atypia, there is hyperchromasia, and pleomorphism.